What's going on, everybody? We're just getting started. It's Monday. It's Two Lost Office Hours. We're about to get started in just a second. As you see, we already have our guest. Brandman Sean is in the building. Let me just make sure that we're set up everywhere we're supposed to be set up. So you should be able to see this on Instagram. Let's see. Now you should be able to see it on Instagram. All right. So we should be live on Instagram. We should be live on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and YouTube. So yeah, this is the second week that we've done it this way. Before we were doing Zoom, but going forward, this is how we are going to host our Two Lost Office Hours sessions. We like to kick it off with kind of sharing your wins. So if you're watching this, feel free to share some of your wins in the comments from the past week, whether it's big or small, it doesn't matter. Did you release a new song? Sean, what'd you get accomplished in the past week, man? What are some of your wins?
Ooh.
What you got for us?
What have I accomplished in the last week?
Again, it don't have to be something amazing. I know you got bigger wins under your belt, but maybe in the past week it's something. It's some of the smaller wins that have moved the needle.
So, a label flew me out to a city to help basically save an artist from basically hopping off the ledge in terms of his marketing campaign and approach, and repair the relationship, and it was successful. I say
You got flued out. Sean got flued out.
Hey man, I'm a fixer, man. Fly me out for something different.
We're gonna have to dive into that a little bit. Let me see if anybody in the comments anybody commented. So you can comment if you're on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter. I'll be able to see your comments come through. We're also going to be asking people to join us live if you have a question. So yeah, people, if you have any wins in the last week, let us know. Let's start out with some positivity. I'm trying to think of some of my wins in the past week. Had some very successful meetings. Close to locking in another sponsorship, another sponsor for a web series that we're doing. What else? Oh, going to South by this week. So if you're at South by Southwest now or will be there this week, I'll be there. We are sponsoring Digilog's event. They have a showcase tomorrow, Tuesday. I think it's from 5 to 10. So make sure you check us out there. Let's see. Vonell said Digital Billboard will be put in Atlanta for my mixtape, The End of the Beginning. So Vonell got a win. He got his digital billboard up.
Hard.
Dope.
Oh, also, dang. I see you got the hoodie on. I appreciate you, sir, man. You were too kind.
For sure. Rep it, no labels necessary. Make sure you check out the podcast. Let's go ahead and my guest doesn't really need an introduction because you've probably seen his face. You probably gotten some gems from him before. But my guy, Brandman Sean Taylor is in the building. Appreciate you joining us.
What's up? He threw the last name on there.
Yeah, people don't know the last name. I think I had it on my phone. Oh, it's here too. It's on.
Yeah. What's up?
So for people that aren't familiar, just give people a little bit of background on kind of what you've been doing over the past 5-10 years.
So the most relevant part is, I market. I help artists grow from ground zero. I help artists who've already had big moments make their next big moment, right? Anything from the technical side of ads and branding, but then how do we also impact the culture? Because streaming doesn't mean that you're necessarily growing a brand on social. Growing a brand on social doesn't necessarily mean you're streaming. And even doing those two things together doesn't necessarily mean you're impacting culture and breaking into being your own image. So breaking as an artist. So it's really just connecting the dots at each of those points in the journey. Where are you at the moment? What's the next level that you're trying to get to? And how do we create a actionable way to get there?
Got you. So what made you decide to get involved with artists and labels? Obviously, you're a smart cat. You probably can apply your skills to so many other places. Probably make so much more money doing so.
Yeah.
Why music? Why artists?
Love and naivety. That's all it was. And I'll say, man, I love music, And artists, it just became, I was doing, helping people grow, like a lot of friends in the visual arts world and the music world, and just overall, like just always been super creative. And some of the projects that I built early on just made people wonder who's behind this or who's helping that guy, and it was everything kept leading back to me. So I started to build a little bit of name for myself without even trying. Wasn't even in the music industry in my head, but because of that, so many people started hitting me up, and I was like, no, let me just create a YouTube channel around the marketing and branding and psychology of things. I never got to go as hard on the psychology side as I wanted to, but just so I can answer these people's questions ahead of time, and I'll send in these videos because I don't want to like talk to every single person. And things just started to grow from there. And just from the love of music and not knowing all the aspects of music, how difficult it could be working with artists, and how difficult it can be for money to come. I chose it just because I was enjoying it, and I appreciated the freedom of what I was building versus any type of job in a more corporate structure. So that's kind of like what really set me off. And then I was in music for a good minute where I was like, I don't know if I want to stay in here. But I found my bag. I'll say that. I found my bag.
So you talked about money. We actually just gave away $33,000
Which is
via our
crazy.
via our collab for the crown contest that we co-hosted with T-Pain. T-Pain just did a live stream announcing the winners last week. The live stream was really dope, and it was kind of, I was like, man, I know I'll never be as entertaining as a T-Pain, but like his live was like, yo, I gotta step my game up. I gotta be more prepared. I gotta be just better on these live, even on these lives, on the
Yeah.
podcast. It just made me really want to step my game up. But we gave away $33,000. It was $20,000 to the winner, to the top prize winner, 8,000 to second place, 5,000 to third place. Now, we didn't really get as many entries as I thought we would have gotten. We ended up getting some high quality entries, and the winners, I think, are really dope. But explain to me, and I know there's a few changes that I know we're gonna make going forward. But explain to me, because I know a couple people hit you up saying it might be a scam. Explain to me why an artist wouldn't take advantage of an opportunity to potentially win $20,000. What's the
Man,
mindset?
I wished I was a rapper, man. Uh, I'll say this, man. I think for one, people who are asking me a scam, I'm like, y'all, bro, y'all know I ain't about to push no scam as hard as I'm pushing this. I might mess around, do a one-off post or, a one-off interview or something and just get caught slipping. But come on, man. I was letting everybody know about two loss. Two loss is not a scam. Get out of here. But I think it just comes from not understanding opportunity, the value of the opportunity, especially for people who need money. Like you need money, you're trying to make money, and you're trying to make money from music. This is a way in.
Yeah,
The way I see an opportunity like this is like, man, this two loss company is advertising first and foremost to the point that they're doing something like a competition and giving away a lot of money. So when I think from my business mind, I think from one, I could use $20,000. All right. Two, I could use some visibility from winning a competition like this. And three, I could use the relationships because this business is obviously at a point where they're trying to continue to build and promote. So I want to be along for that ride and come one of their shining case studies so they could just put me in places that I probably don't even belong being off of my regular resources. That's what I think when you understand it fully like that, it makes it harder to not figure out like the opportunity or how to take advantage of it.
yeah,
But I think the biggest reason beyond just the difficulty, I think outside of understanding the opportunity or not understanding it, just comes down to people want it to be frictionless, man.
yeah,
Like collabing with somebody takes an effort, right? Coming up with a concept with something requires an effort, right?
yeah,
Versus I can just submit one of my songs that I happen to have in the tuck and
yeah,
see what it does because nothing was happening. That's what I think a lot of people want from it. And like that mentality, man, like y'all got to get over that. Anybody who had that type of mentality. And the last thing is some people who get in their own heads, not understanding this is a moment in time. This doesn't have to be a brand. You could create a song that doesn't have a vibe that you normally do for yourself. It's no
Yep.
different than an artist hopping on a collab with a song with an artist outside of their lane so they can show a different side of themselves. When if this for you felt like an off-brand type of song or theme, then you could always say, but yeah, I did that for a contest. Like, oh yeah, Pusha T did I'm Loving It. Look at all the artists who did like, these jingles and things like that. Yeah, that was for the bag at the time. I was on my way up. And it's just another, badge as a part of my story. It's not like you even had to push it on your socials and do a advertising campaign or anything like that. So those are like the three different, not understanding opportunity, wanting something to be easier, and then two, like getting in your own head about like the branding aspect of things.
Yeah, I'll throw a couple other reasons out there. I think that artists shy away from competition sometimes, like because if they lose, obviously there's like
Yeah,
only three cash prize winners out of however many people enter the contest. So people shy away from competition, and if you're not selected as a winner, it almost seems like you lost. It might be an ego hit. However, there's a lot more people that win in these competitions than just the people that get the money, right? If you picked up 5 new fans, 10 new fans, 50 new fans, if you got in front of T-Pain, if you were a finalist and he reviewed your music, that's a win. So you got to think of other ways that you're winning through this contest and not be concerned too much about like the top prize. The top prize winner was actually, it wasn't a hip hop song. It was kind of like a vibey, like pop song. I knew T-Pain was going to go in a different direction because of, how many different genres he's influenced by and that he creates himself. Um, and then I would say that one of the other reasons I think some artists feel like they're above a contest, right?
yeah,
Like, oh, I got a little bit of traction and I'm above this. When actually some of the artists that have traction will benefit more from a contest because it gives your fans something to rally around,
yeah,
right?
true.
Um, so you might even benefit more. But T-Pain he was live for about an hour. It was dope. Like he was singing and stuff. Like it was a really dope presentation. He really leaned into announcing the winners. It wasn't a situation where he just kind of logged on and said these are the top 3 winners and then logged out. It was
Yeah.
like he was singing and everything. Did you get a chance to see it or not?
I did, man. I did. He's a legit entertainer, though, man. I have a lot of appreciation for T-Pain, so it's dope to hear that as just another story of his.
Yeah, no, it was super dope. I'm glad we partnered. I'm glad we partnered with him, but we're definitely going to change some things. We want to make it more frictionless, but I tell you, in 2010, 2011, 2012, when I used to host contests, we used to have artists like make whole music videos, and we would get and we would get and we would get thousands of submissions. And granted, I know that Funk Volume was in a different place brand wise than Two Lost is at the moment, but still we used to require more. They used to have to get votes and things like that. I feel like artists have gotten lazier over the years. Weigh in on that opinion.
He just gonna give me a time bomb and just drop it in my hand. That's funny. I,
Do you agree or you don't agree with that?
I
I
say
mean,
I say this. I think it's hard for me to truly objectively say yes, like I would want to, just because I wasn't really around at that time, right?
yeah,
However, I feel like societally in general, there's a lot of laziness, in this era because things just come so easy for us, and I have to personally stay in my own head about like, bro, do you want this or do you not? Like, and knowing that working this hard now is to work less hard later, right? Like to
yeah,
build out my YouTube channel, I have things come to me that I don't do any work for at all. In some ways, I did do the work, but boy, when I was just me and editing, shooting every single idea, no video editor, no nothing, but just myself, that was a different type of work and effort. And then there's another era. So I think there's it's not all laziness. I think it's when I kind of go back to lack of understanding like business opportunities, there's a desire to have things so quickly. So if you
yeah,
don't see get quick result or foresee a quick result, then you aren't willing to put in the work. Because you're just like, I go so many different places and I see fast results. I don't compute why I am like I should be getting fast results. If I'm not getting fast results, it's not working. That's what
Yeah.
a lot of people legitimately think. They're like, oh no, this doesn't work because it's not fast.
Yeah. Now, so to open up this conversation, you say one of your wins was you flew out to an artist and you
Yeah.
had to do some crisis management. Obviously, not asking for the artist's name, but what kind of was the situation? And you can strip as much detail as you need to out to kind of protect this the person's name. But can you share anything about this experience?
Mm, I'd say um I'd say less of a crisis. I use crisis the word loosely. It's just like
Or you could just make up a completely, because you've dealt with so many different
I
artists and different
I say this
situations. You can make up a completely different scenario and how
though.
you might address it.
I say the important part is for all sides of a team to be on the same page.
Mm,
And I think more artists should understand, or it's not shared enough, that the lack of success that an artist achieves or the lack of full potential that an artist achieves has a lot more to do with team than people realize, and a lot more to do with team communication,
mm.
right? Than people realize, and making sure the team is all on the same page and understood, and everybody sees value in all directions is like of the utmost important, and becomes even more important when an artist has more going for them, because those moments, those times become more precious. Like you think, oh, I'm good, so that's when it becomes easier to turn a certain moments down too, and for an artist to get in their own head, because I'm good enough that I
Yeah.
feel like I know enough stuff is already working. But then if a big moment comes and you miss it, and I'm like, yo, Dame, like, bro, you got to do this. And you're like, nah, I'm good. Only I might understand exactly what you missed, because you're still living and making money from what you're doing. You think, oh, yeah, that wasn't that big of a deal. Sean was tripping. Versus I'm like, nah, man, you just missed the opportunity to go from level 3 to level 7. You might be able to go to level 4, 5, and maybe even to make it to level 7 in the long term. That looks a lot different than being in level 7 within the next 7 to 12 months. And then like the things compound from there. So I think that's the biggest thing overall. Just in all situations when I work with artists and teams, it's just like it's really down to communication, everybody being on the same page. And there's so much great education about the pitfalls of the industry. However, there becomes this threshold where it starts to become negative propaganda, and artists become fearful, so fearful of everybody taking advantage of them, and they don't have enough knowledge to truly analyze, because they haven't been there before, if these people are taking advantage of me or not. Then you start to demonize people who aren't demons. You get what I
Hmm.
mean? And that's it's just a real tricky place to be, right? You paranoid. It's just like being, you know, a black man at some point. You hear all this stuff is racist, and sometimes you're like, dang, was that racist or not? You questioning stuff, and it's like, nah, it wasn't, bro. Like you're good, but you're overthinking, and you're in your head, and you might cause yourself to move slowly when you need to move fast with conviction.
That is how a lot of artists get caught staying in the same position. They're afraid to make a move. They just get caught right there, stagnation.
Yep.
Uh, so important, and so important to be on the same page. At times in the past, I felt like I was almost like the artists were working against me to some extent. You know what I'm saying? Like we were not on the same page. And it's crazy because like, say we have a project that we're putting out, and we think, okay, if we do these 10 things, we're gonna knock this out the park. We're gonna maximize this opportunity. Typically, working with artists, it's like, okay, if we do these 10 things, we're gonna knock it out the park. they might commit to like 7 of them. So already I'm like, damn, all right, wish we could have done those 3 things, but they committed to 7, so we good. And then they actually only do 3 of them, so that we really missed the mark. Like we could have really knocked it out the park, but they committed to 7 and then only did 3. Sometimes that happens a lot. That's not just my own personal experience. That's kind of what I've seen with other teams as well. And that's just a lack of being on the same page and kind of understanding what those other 7 opportunities would have done for that project, or just kind of the space that they were in, unfortunately.
Yep.
Um, is there an artist, right, an independent artist right now that you think is really doing a lot of creative things from a marketing perspective? Like you just been impressed by how they're moving and some of the ideas that they've been coming up with.
Independent Dax.
And to be honest with you, the fact that somebody didn't just come to mind immediately lets me know that even though the space is crowded, there's room for a lot more creativity to stand out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. I think Dax is somebody that's doing something really interesting. And then there's a guy I spoke with last week personally. I didn't see it. I just met him and then we started talking and I was interviewing him about some other stuff. So I kind of speak on both. Like Dax, I think is so underrated. Like when I just watch what he's doing and how he's doing it. And I think because he isn't like in the mainstream, is being missed even more so than a La Russell or Russ, right? If you think those guys aren't mainstream, like Dax is like just doesn't get talked about in the culture, at all, from a standpoint of what he's doing from a business and just execution standpoint. You get what I mean? And
Yeah.
I only like more recently, like was able to kind of realize that because I just like, man, he keeps rising, and I always had appreciation for what he was doing. But when I would look at like just specific videos, it's like, dang, I know just what you executed. He dropped a video today on YouTube. It's a freestyle, and to like a Jay-Z Blueprint song, and at the beginning, like for like 3 seconds, it says tour of Joyner Lucas March 11th, right? And then into the freestyle, and then knowing enough of what he has going on, I'm like, man. So he's doing this freestyle series that's kind of taking his fans back to the point where he was rapping like that more, because right now he's on this country kick, right? Doing the joint with Darius Rucker. He has a really big track, the Man track, something about man. So it's like he understands where his fan base is. I'm going back on tour, and I know I'm going on tour with Jordan Lucas. So I got to remind people of this side of myself, right? And I'm advertising while I do it. So I'm going to drop all these videos. And then remind you, I'm going on tour for a quick second in time. He had some TikToks that were brilliant in how he showed that he was going to be on tour and launched his dates. So just those little details are the things that I super appreciate. Creating a narrative of me against the industry it's not that fascinating for me. It's a great go-to that's always going to get you a certain level of attention. But it's the details of the execution where I'm like, oh no, you really know what you're doing, and the way you're building the moves you're making make you somebody that everybody should be watching. So
I
yeah,
just
that's big on that.
his manager Brittany just came by the office last week. She's super cool. So
I just met her last week. Well, on the phone.
Yeah, so I've been tapped into what Dax has been doing for quite some time, and obviously in the early days there were a lot of comparisons between him and Hop. So he was on my radar like super early.
I didn't know
Uh,
that.
yeah, they might have even done a song together after the label blew up. But I know that he kind of like creates, like he kind of like looks for topics that are kind of polarizing, and like he creates to invoke a certain emotion, and that's kind of how he moves a lot of the time. So
He's
because
created a real fan base too. Like a
yeah,
lot of people who are doing stuff where it seems more socially engineered, they aren't able to build a real fan base and go past I'm of TikTok or I'm of Instagram or YouTube. Like he has something where he's doing everything that artists are afraid of because they think it's going to prevent them from building real fans, and he's building real fans. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, nah, for sure. And it sounded like you were going to talk about somebody else too. I cut you off. My apologies.
Uh,
Or no?
Oh well, yeah. So there's this artist named Nate Rose that I'm super impressed with, man. He's out of Nashville,
Hmm.
and Nate Rose music, y'all can check him out. But just talking with him, I was
Smart.
super impressed, bro. Like
Yeah, he's
he was
smart.
talking about, yo, man, I'm about to do a he's at it was No Big Deal. I don't know if you know that artist. He was at his writers camp. He's like, oh yeah, I just came down here from the writers camp. I didn't realize that it was hours away from you, but he pulled up on me and he was like, I'm about to do a writer camp for myself in a couple weeks. I'm like, you're gonna do a writers camp for your project? And he said, like, you said you were like not signed at all, right? And it's like just you. Like, I haven't heard artists think like that, doing writers camps for them
Yeah.
their own project and not going ran through any kind of label system or anything like that. You just invest in yourself, or he got himself to the point where he's making money off his music. It's not like you look at his streams, it's not like he's doing stupid crazy, which makes it even more impressive that he's thinking like this. He was like, yeah, man, I'll and fly ex producers out or whatever, and I don't have a lot of clout like that, so I'll make sure I pay for everything for them for their stay. And I think he said it might be like 15 grand or whatever for all of it, but that's an
Yeah.
investment in himself, and he's building the relationships. So it's just like to see how he's moving. Like he said multiple things, but to me that was like the biggest thing that stood out. Because I'm like, I hear labels putting on writer camps, I hear maybe a management company putting on writer camp or something like that, but like you just got a single artist, like basically working out his room for all intents and purposes, and leveraging that type of concept to, of course, create quality music, but build relationships. Because he was saying, like, I didn't really know the guys like that, but he was telling me, like, and who they work with, like, no, these are like some really legit people or whatever, but
Yeah.
gave them an offer that they can't confuse. Yeah, I'm gonna go produce in a spot, a nice spot, paid for me, da da da. And Buddy's music is cool, and maybe something will come out of it, maybe not. Like I was like, man, like that to me, that when you know how it is, man. Is usually the music is always great, but when it comes to the predicting somebody being successful, it usually comes from talking to them, and you're like, oh, I knew
Yeah.
he was gonna be there because the way he
Yeah.
thought. Like, oh yeah, he's on a different wave. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nah, so that was it was like that when I met Russ, because I met Russ in 2012 maybe.
Uh-huh.
Um, it was also like that when I spoke with Lil Dicky before he blew up. So yeah, it is kind of a conversation you have with these cats, and like, okay, yeah, there's something different here, and then
Yep.
just the consistency and the quality that came with their music. So yeah, man, I know too many artists at this point, so I'm familiar with Nate. I'm familiar with Nate. I'm familiar with no. Yeah. Nate. Another reason why Nate continues to progress is that he's super professional.
Crazy
Um,
professional.
so he's going to show up on time. He's going to maintain solid relationships. And I know that that's not something that, artists might put on the top of the list of like what's going to get them to the next level, but it's big. It's definitely big. And Nate, and I think Nate has another business on the side too. I think it's like a video
A
business.
video business or something. Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And it kind of helps fund some of the other things. So, yeah, shout out to Nate, super dope artist. All right, so if I'm an artist today and I got a song that I want to put out, what are some of the things that you're thinking through? I'm not asking you to do a whole rollout strategy, but what are some of the questions that you would ask that artist to give them a little bit more direction on how they should put out a song these days?
Yeah. I mean, it's always going to start with, like, who are you trying to reach? You got to have some sense
Hmm.
of your supposed audience. I always try to tell people, like, as a marketer, as experienced as I am, as great as I am, it's not about hitting the bullseye right out the gate, but it's about being directionally correct. All right. I'm going in the right direction, and then I can correct as much as possible there. So I don't want to be way too far out from the bullseye, and I got to spend all this money or effort just to get there. And I might be out before I even get to the bullseye. But if I'm a little off from my guessing, and then I do a couple of tweaks, and now I'm in the groove, then now it's on and popping. All right. So you have to figure out who is this audience, what what makes them tick at the moment. right? Not just the general, like what's the vibe, but like what's the conversation and culture with this audience at the moment? Like, what's the pulse today? And this is why a lot of artists without much marketing experience do a lot of great marketing things early on unintentionally, because a lot of the young artists are just so into the culture, right? They do things that resonate without thinking. But then when you get older, you start and or as you just get more successful and you aren't around the people as much, then you have to be more mindful and ask these questions intentionally. So people will think, oh, I'm a marketing genius, or things just work because they were so tapped in without even knowing they were tapped in. So the frequency just connected. But it's only when you get away from it, when you start getting exposed and we see like who's a great marketer and who had a great moment. So yeah, make sure you understand the audience. And then once you understand the audience, also, like, of course, you go through the song. What are the moments in this song that can resonate? That says nothing about the rest of the song. It doesn't mean that you're just making a song for TikTok. I actually promote artists not like thinking about marketing at all until the song is over, right? Because if you know what you're doing and the music's good enough and you create enough music, you'll be able to make something work, like and figure out where it needs to be placed in social media. You don't have to be analyzing and then I got to put my hook here, and like you can doing a little bit of that helps, because you have to understand the format of the time. Like that's different, right? Like the album era, like everybody. I know I'm going off to a different direction, but like artists like get it twisted, and it comes from not understanding your history, and people in general go suffer from this. But like everybody in their time was creating for the format of the time. So the time that you're putting on a pedestal, they were doing their own version of TikTok, right? Their own version of Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. Like they were doing their own version of it. So they were just speaking to a different format and a different time and culture. So don't pedestalize that, because it's going to keep you from being able to do what you need to do in your own time. But finding those moments in your song that will resonate, and then be willing to just test those first moments. Once you start to test those first moments, then you could build out a full campaign based off of what's going to work. If you're an artist with like low to no budget, it's always about test first. How do you test? You expose it to people outside of your own, all right, your own circle. Get it out there into a world with as minimal budget as possible. And then once they show you what's resonating with them, you just give them more of that and you just crank it up.
And I know there's not a one size fits all, but if you had an artist, what would be kind of a regular cadence of releases that you would suggest these days? Or is the cadence not a thing? You would put out a music whenever, or how would you look at it?
So this is if I'm just making up an artist in their own sentiment. So they would have to be able to handle what I'm about to say, because it's different for every plan. And I think that's one of my superpowers, being able to work with all versions of artists and personality, but outside of being disrespectful. But a song a week and hardcore on content at first. Just at first. Why? Because I'm thinking about from ground zero right now, like complete ground zero, because I want as much information as possible, right? And I want as much development as possible, right? This isn't just, oh, I'm doing this because of TikTok, right? This is our version of I'm in the ballet studio looking in the mirror practicing choreography. This is the new version of that, right? And you singing the songs a million times before you ever go on stage, except you are doing it in front of people. And I'm looking at it. Are you tweaking your muscle in terms of the ability of creating videos and just the creativity? All right. And once we get you to a certain point, build a little audience capture, understand what's gonna hit, and even give you that time to develop even more music as well. Then we're gonna start pulling back, and that might only last for about 3 months, because I'm also talking about ground zero. I want to make sure you have enough music out, so if something takes off, we got a little bit of a catalog. And now we're gonna go to maybe 2 weeks with a plan of some level of EP. All right. And I think you just asked about the song release. So I'll stop there.
Yeah,
So yeah,
you out there. I think
yep.
what's dope these days is that you can always kind of remarket some of the songs that have been out, right? And I would, if I was an artist, I would constantly kind of be seeing what's going on in popular culture and see, like, match it up with my catalog. So let's just say I had a song called Championship, and hopefully the Lakers win a championship this year. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but like whoever wins the championship, that might be another moment to really maybe re-release a song called Championship, or you got a breakup song and some popular celebrities break up, and that's another moment to push your breakup song. So that would be something that I would be doing too, just kind of seeing what's trending. Do I have a song that matches the moment? Have you seen anybody do that, or what are some of your ideas for remarketing, catalog?
I mean, every year artists try to take advantage of Valentine's Day. There's all kind
Yeah,
of R&B artists that do something like that. But like, and then you have artists that'll create something when their city is winning the championship. Those are some pretty common ones I see. But and then people use the word entanglement when that was a moment in culture. I think it's the ones that work best though are a little bit more meta. And this is where I talked about understanding your audience and what's relevant in conversation with them at the moment. You want to connect with those dots, but if it's too popular, then it comes off in a way that's a little forced or a little gimmicky. Like the Jada Pinkett entanglement thing got so big, creating a song called Entanglement or something, like it just kind of felt like a joke that already got ran through by the internet, right? It was too much. But if you're just using language that happens to be popular at the time, or some conversations that are a little bit more niche to your audience at the time, and haven't hit like pop culture level, then you have a moment of connecting more, because we know that, oh, this is how we talk. And then you're going to be using them as a spark to introduce the world to this side of the culture, or just a conversation that's happening in the culture in the way that this part of the culture is talking right now. You get what I mean?
yeah, no, for sure. So I put a link. If you're on, I think Twitter, YouTube, or LinkedIn, I put the link to actually join us to ask a question in the comment section. If you're watching on Instagram, I apologize. It doesn't flow through to Instagram. The comments don't flow through to Instagram. But one more question before we start taking some of those questions. If you were an artist, again, all of these questions really depend on knowing more information about a particular artist. But if
Yeah.
you were, but if you're an artist and you start to get a little traction, who do you think the first who's that first person that you're adding to the team? What skill set would you be looking for to add to the squad?
It's tied between uh manager and a videographer.
Mm. And
Like, so
I guess if your manager can be a videographer, that's the bonus. That's the best case scenario.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, so as an artist, you always want to. I mean, if you have a video skill set, that maybe you don't need that. You always kind of need to assess your own skills and see what gaps you need to fill and what makes the most sense for that first person. Um,
That's the
oh,
biggest deal, by the way, to me. Like, self-awareness is this whole game. Every artist is not a La Russell, a Russ, right? Like, those are artists who are capable of legitimately being CEOs, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Of an operation, if they had the energy to put, like, if they weren't doing creative, and weren't the talent, they could legitimately, like, just easy go to, they have the talent to go be CEOs of other situations. I'll say that.
yeah. Nah, there's a lot of lack of self awareness because even when a lot of artists see like big artists that are in major label situations do something or say something, and you got to understand that what they say or do very rarely applies to what you're currently doing.
Yep.
Right? It's a totally different situation. They have a bigger platform, probably more resources. So yeah, I think even today I re-quoted something on Twitter where Beyonce was like the way she's releasing her album. I don't know, she's like not releasing artwork or something like that. And I just requoted. I said, artists, don't get any ideas. Just remember, you are you are not Beyonce.
Yeah.
So when you hear things, even when you hear something from like the Joe Budden podcast or some of these other places that aren't on the ground, like working with independent artists on a day-to-day basis, it can get you messed up. You might receive the wrong information and start applying it, inappropriately. So you really have to watch that. Let's see. I don't know if they're gonna use their camera, but I'm gonna add Dylan V to the chat. I mean oh, there we go. Dylan, what's up,
Yes,
man?
sir. Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
What's good with you?
Oh, hello. Oh,
Yep.
I'm sorry. You guys froze for a second. Oh yeah, yeah. Sean, I just want to say thank you. I've been watching you for a good year now, and you've given me a lot of really good information.
Appreciate it.
I'll
Yep. Now he froze.
make this about a song called J Christ, and
Dylan,
I
you
wanted to
might
know how you felt
you
about
might
how he released the song, and if you think that he could have done something different in terms of getting it to be more popular by his standards, of course, or if there's something he did wrong with this campaign. What are your thoughts on that specifically?
Did you catch that, Sean? What song
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah. J. Christ by Lil Nas X. And
Oh,
why didn't it hit the way it should have hit? Or could he do something different? So
Yeah, right.
I think it was a case of not knowing why you're winning and not knowing when enough is enough.
mhm.
So when Lil Nas X popped off, right? There was a lot of things going for him. Then it became this race-related conversation with country music. Kind of organically happened because of the track. It wasn't as forced as this conversation is around Beyonce and country rappers, artists today. And so that took him to another level. Then Billy Ray Cyrus, who was outcasted had a little bit in his time, got on the track, made an even bigger moment. Great. Now where is he going to go next, right? So a big part of where he went afterwards had a lot to do with the polarization of the church and his sexuality. All right. That was at that time, there's a lot of people who resonated with that feeling. They felt that way. Right. So bam, he became a champion, a hero in that particular space. But then as you continue to use that same theme over time, now it starts to feel a little different, right? It's not like just genuinely making a statement and standing against something. On one side, the people who are fighting against you, right? Let's just say like traditional Christian church, for a lack of, having to explain a long way, right? First, they're energized and they're like this guy, and they're making this uproar. What is this? Shock factor. After a while, well, they're like, I'm not shocked. This is what he does. I might be disgruntled and not like it, but you're not going to get anywhere near as much energy from that anymore. And then on the other side, for the people who are championing you or giving you a benefit of the doubt, right? Who might even be Christian, but they're like, y'all are taking this too seriously. Man, these effects are weird that are happening around me right now. But they're not taking that serious. Like you have some of them that start to say, like, all right, like get your foot off their necks. Or are you using us, like using this theme as like a cheap shot? All right. And I'm not saying necessarily he is, because another example would be Dave Chappelle with the transsexual, that whole situation where it's just like, Dave, like we don't care enough to keep hearing you talk about this stuff, even if you're funny, right? And even if we agree with what you were saying or whatever, or didn't think it was a big deal, like we would also like to move along because this isn't as big a deal for us as it might be to you, right? So it becomes a lack of understanding of like your audience, and sometimes we can misappropriate our own support and thinking they're supporting us for reasons that they aren't necessarily. And I think that's a big part of it, like a little tone deafness. of that, like to go so hard and blatant in that theme where it felt more of a caricature than maybe a guy who just genuinely felt something and wanted to get a one-off. And then you get into song quality and things like that. So yeah, but that's the biggest thing, because his whole thing is like polarizing and shocking up to this point. And when you do that, I don't think people realize there's an art, a lot of art to shocking correctly over time. Once you become a brand people expect that from, now you can't just come out normally. You have to be a little bit more mindful. And that's when I go back to the difference between marketer versus moment. And I think Nas X is he has a lot more marketer than most artists for sure. But there's just some nuances that come the longer you do it.
Yeah. Dope. Dylan, appreciate your question, man. So yeah, I mean, I feel like, even at first when he came out, I think a lot of Christians even kind of understood his perspective or willing to tolerate it. But then as you keep doubling and tripling down, it's like, all right, this is super disrespectful now. Like
that's the short take.
All right, we got Owen. Owen, what's up with you, bro?
Hey, how's it going? Do you hear me?
What's good? Yeah.
Hey, Brandman. I wanted to ask you a question because it goes to the marketing aspect of an artist. You told a story on your channel about this guy who came out with a video where he did the gun thing, and he got the whole the NRA and everybody was just against him in a real negative way. So
yeah,
as an artist, you come out, you brand yourself like that, you kind of already, how you pivot out of that as an artist.
You do something else that's worthy of attention. You just really have to out moment your moment. That's what it comes down to. Like, I think a lot of people, like when people get so worried about being stuck, it's because they're afraid they don't have anything else beyond that. Right. Like every career is, I use the word moment a lot because it's a series of moments. It's a series of narratives. Right. Every great artist, we can think about so many different periods of time that were their own individual moment that seemed so big that could have been big enough for just one artist's career by itself. Yet they just did it multiple times. It's like Kobe having two, basketball player Hall of Fame careers. You know what I mean? So I think the easiest way to say this is at a song level in a way that applies to more indie artists. I'll know a lot of artists who will start like popping in like comedy or something like that. And I'll say, well, yeah, man, it's not that they don't like your music when you start dropping music. It's because either one, you're creating music that this audience doesn't even like, right? It doesn't, because that could be two different types of vibes, right? Or your music just isn't better than you're funny. You might just be way funnier than the quality of your music. And maybe at some point you'll get there. That's what happened with Cardi B. Right, her personality is crazy, and then you finally get a Bodak Yellow because she was dropping a lot of music before that. Bodak Yellow, it rang off, and it created that next launch pad. But then, well, what's going to happen after Bodak Yellow? And then it keeps going and going. So it's the same thing for any type of brand moment, man. You just have to do better and garner people's attention again, where they start to respect you holistically over time.
Okay, let me ask another question then. Let's say, as a musician, it seems like right now we create a lot of music, but it's not connecting. So it seems like a real important thing is to have content. It doesn't matter what, that you could put your music on and get some connection somewhere, right? Is that so? If you're building a team, you'd probably want somebody. Let's just say you have mediocre music. So let's just leave that at that level. If you have enough content, you could get it to connect if there's some emotional connection with something that resonates with some audience somewhere, right?
Say that last question again.
So let's say you have some music. It might not be the best, but if you have enough content where you keep trying things, you could pivot and pivot with the content, get the music to connect, sort of like micro sync, where if they hear it enough, it might actually take off somewhere.
For sure. Creation and connection are two completely different things. And we've gone from an era of 1 = 1 to 1 × 1 = 1. And what I mean by that is back in the day, you're putting your music on the radio. One great song with an audience that's listening. All right, there you go. It's a moment. But now it's one great song. That's not enough. You need to multiply that by the right piece of content, right? And then once you have the right piece of content, which goes to you saying creating a bunch of content till you find the right one, you pair it together, and then 1 times 1 equals still one moment. But that's what you're talking about there. Yeah, it's just the graduation from 1 equals 1 to 1 times 1 equals 1.
Okay, that's cool. Thanks a lot.
For sure.
Appreciate you tapping in, Owen. However, nobody should be shooting for mediocre music. Hopefully your music is not mediocre. But hey,
to his credit, like what he could be speaking of though, and where these artists these days have to put out music like over time and develop in front of people, you still want to make your music move right in that moment of time. You know, maybe that's what it is.
But sometimes like bad music is better than mediocre music. Like invoking some type of emotion is better than mediocre music.
That is
and this is not an example of mediocre music. I actually really like this song.
Okay.
Have you seen or have you heard the Eat a Salad song?
I have not heard that song.
I think it's a Stunner Man. I think it's Stunner Man. I forget exactly where he's from, but he got a song about encouraging people to eat salad. Like
he's from the Bay. He's from the Bay. He's from the Bay.
Yeah, okay. He got a song. I've been throwing it in my story to my workout every time I post my check-in workouts. I put that song in there.
I'll check that. I gotta check that out. I'll say this, man. It's about being remarkable, and I think, and that's all virality is at its core, right? The word remarkable. You break it down as something worth remarking about, worth talking about, and that's why bad does better than okay or mediocre, because it has to be worth talking about, right? I always say, the top of good music mountain or the top of the trash can, right? Those are the things that we talk about. There's people like, oh, only trash music gets talked about, and I'm like, no, bad trash that isn't worth talking about, it doesn't get talked about either. But the best trash gets talked about, the best music itself. But okay, it's hard to stand out. And we only want to talk about those extremes when it's so saturated out there.
And sometimes those quote unquote bad songs turn into good. I don't know if you would consider damn, my mind's drawing a blank right now. The homegirl that one of the most popular artists right now. I'm tripping with the Moo song.
Oh yeah, Doja Cat.
Where she had that is it bitch I'm a cow or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then she changed it to Moo. Yeah. See, Chris Amos, the guy's name was Nate Rose Music, Nate Rose. But yeah, that was so amazing because I knew how talented she was before. And so when I used to run this festival, a part of my marketing, I would find artists early on and then kind of use them to kind of show the vibe or whatever. So people discovered artists, and then at the same time, I hacked their attention to say, hey, here's this festival. And I used one of her songs, and it was nothing like a bitch I'm the cow, obviously. It was super musical, kind of went down her rap. Yeah.
You've been rapping for a minute.
But it wasn't even a rap song though. It's a song called So High. It was just all singing. And she was in this what's that blue the X-Man, but she's blue with the red hair. It gave me that kind of vibe. I can't remember her name, but
we talking about an actual X-Men? Mystique?
Yeah, I think it's her. Yeah. So but that's how she looked in the video or whatever. That's to my point. This is called So High. It was just singing. But then I found out she could rap. I'm like, yo, she could rap for real. And then when the bitch I'm a cow came out, for her, because she had a catalog of real shit out there, people came in for the joke. Some people didn't go down a rabbit hole, but everybody who did, I remember seeing the comments yo, she's actually good. She's actually dope. This is kind of crazy. So, I always say, if you want to plan or hop off the roof with a viral risk, have a catalog so people can at least go down the rabbit hole when they come in.
Yeah, nah, for sure. All right, let me bring in I want to say it. How you pronounce your name, big dog?
Provinci. I'm actually a part of Two Laws.
Oh, dope. Provinci.
Dope. Yeah, I'm a product pretty artists on there. I was brought over after my song Purple Drink started going viral on TikTok. I don't
Dope.
you out your mind if you ever think I would take trick. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Have you
I'm not familiar, but I'll have to check it out after this, man. What's your
it did
question?
40 million views on TikTok?
Sheesh.
Yeah, so I blew up on TikTok, then I got banned. So that's why I really wanted on here because when I got banned on TikTok, my Instagram blew up and I got 30K followers from that.
Hey.
So right now I'm posting like memes. I do a lot of like pension content. A lot of people are relating to the story because they saw me posting every single day on TikTok for 3 years. So when I got banned, they automatically came to my Instagram and they're like, it's crazy how you got banned, man. And I appealed it, it got rejected. I just dropped another song called Quiet Wealth. It hit like 20K already. So fan base is there now. And my Discord hit like 1.5K. And like I have all this going on, my phone's going crazy, and I'm like, man, I have no one to really ask these questions to, but TikTok support, you know how that is. So I'm just responses right now. I'm like, yo, you guys need to look at these screenshots because other pages they're taking my content and they're going viral with it. So I made like all these memes, and I'm like, I got banned, but the things like other people are getting like they're taking my stuff right now. Try to figure it.
So, Vince, you got a question, or are you just flexing right now?
No, this is my question. I'm like, man, you guys are in such a. I know you guys did a deal with TikTok. I was like, I messed with the support team because on their own priority, so it came back really quick. But you guys said you can't.
Oh, you trying to see if we can help get your account unbanned? I have no idea what exactly the issue is, but DM me on Instagram and we'll see if we can sort that out.
Other questions about music. I love talking about it.
Wait, say that again.
I have other questions about music. It doesn't have to be about my TikTok. I just came on there because this was my only time to really talk to you. I guess that I felt.
Got you. So what's your question?
Yeah, so about algorithms. So I used to post a lot of underground music, and I realized with Spotify radio really is about how they play the song, who they used to listen to. My algorithms, a lot of it used to be underground rage type of rap, but now I'm doing trap. A lot of my older music is no longer what I do, right? So the people coming in from Apple Music, if you go to my Apple, it says my music's now relatable to Lucky, Laser Dim, things like that. So it's going towards the trap sound now, which I see on Apple. I see the algorithm change. On Spotify, that's not happening. It's still a lot of rage because some of those songs went so viral, it's so big, they're still getting streams to this day. So I'm wondering if I restart, because I'm producing now, right? I just started producing December. If I create a new Spotify and just collab with Provinci, who's already at 100K, how would I do that in Two Loss when it seems like I could only tag my Provinci? Does that make sense? And is that a good idea?
I'll let Sean answer whether that's a good idea. So you have a certain genre of music that's doing well on Spotify and a different genre of music that seems to be doing better on Apple Music. Should you start releasing music under a different artist name on Spotify and collaborating with the original profile? Sean, does that make sense? You want to give your feedback on that?
Yeah, let me just clarify. Like you said, because you want to be on the producer side, you just want to keep it separate.
So, right. So under the new page, right, the music I'm making now is more so that sound that I started that's going viral anyways. Like it started going viral on TikTok. That's what really happened because Lucky's been a artist, but a lot of people are saying I remind Lucky. So when they came to my Apple, that my Apple didn't have as much as Spotify. Like, you guys, most of my artists don't have that much, but my Apple. And I noticed that change. So when I'm start my new Spotify algorithms even better than Apple when it comes to like covering artists. If I do it under now already. For example, the song got Internet People. It doesn't have that many streams, but I noticed it got on there for a little bit. But I'm like, would that make the other page grow faster since I'm already tagged? Prevency.
Yeah, so like some of the things that you're saying like broke up and with the connection, but yes, you can leverage a second page to grow your other page for sure. Like as long as you are clear that you want them to be separate. If you're just because I missed a little
I
thing.
want organic. I want a better organic growth in radio.
Prevency, give him a chance to answer it because
Yeah.
just give him a chance.
I think if just you want a better organic growth in radio, if you think it's all about a sound and you're switching like heavily, then yeah, you can more fast. You can use that to grow and yes, get in the radio with a new algorithm. But honestly, if it's just about I'm changing my sound or evolving a bit, I would just stick it out and keep it on the same profile. It might take a little bit longer, or you got to make a couple of moves and collabs. But if you're using that old account to grow a new account, you're going to end up impacting the algorithm to be a little bit more like the old algorithm anyway. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was. You guys know Knackery?
You said what about No Knackery?
Like the artist Knackery?
Yeah, what about it?
Prevency, you're getting a little bit too specific, man. We got to make sure that our questions like benefit like everybody that's watching as well. So I know.
Yeah. So everyone watching, I would suggest posting a lot on TikTok. I mean, I've spoken. TikTok's changed my life. Obviously, I'm in my own house. A lot of people are grinding, so I guess my question would be about TikTok. Let's bring it back. Watch.
We at Prevention. We actually have to wrap it up. Maybe you can come back next week.
Yeah, sure.
We'll have a different guest. So appreciate the question, man. We'll have to move on. All right, cool. It's 1 o'clock now. We're gonna have to wrap this up. Sean, did you have any last thoughts? Let people know what you're up to, where they can find you, what they should be tapped into.
Oh man, I mean, y'all have asked some great questions today overall, man. So I'll just say like definitely continue to grow, tap into sessions and things like this, educate yourself. No labels necessary, just follow No Labels Necessary or Brandman Sean, and you'll get to anything you need to see from me. Our podcast, we have these conversations all the time. And to the person who asked who my favorite basketball player is, for sure, I'm going to have to say Kobe Bryant. Michael Jordan's up there as well, but like Kobe, I got to watch him different, so I'm going to go with Kobe.
Nice. And I will also reiterate, a lot of people attend these sessions. I was on another session with Ray Daniels this morning. He had a Zoom session. He was dropping a lot of gems. Don't just listen. Start putting this stuff into action. Like, you don't make any progress by just listening to these sessions on a weekly basis, whether it's Sean's platforms or Ray or myself. Start putting these things in action so that when we ask you guys, what wins you got in the past week, you can give us several. So that's all I want to reiterate. We'll be back next week. I think our CEO Greg is going to join us because we just released a new update to the site. It has a lot more tools and features that are really dope, and we want to walk through some of them to show you how you can more take advantage of the platform even more. So we've got advanced analytics. We got a bunch of stuff that we just updated the site with. So make sure you check it out. You can use the promo code Office Hours and get 3 free months of music distribution. And if you're in South by, DM me. If you're doing a show or you want to meet up, I'll be at South by tomorrow. Just DM me on Instagram at dame.mec. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Peace, y'all.